way to the right and is tripped up, reaching for the end zone. Touchdown. What a start.
Give it to Reed, and there he goes. Nobody's going to catch him. Touchdown.
It's caught. Jeremiah Smith. Touchdown, Ohio State. The legend grows.
This is Chasing the Natty, a college fantasy football podcast. And two-person. All right, welcome in, everybody. It is Sunday night, which you guys know what that means. It is time to run another college fantasy football draft here. Before I forget it, let's go ahead and talk about what exactly we are doing here. Again, like I said, it's college fantasy football draft. We're going to be doing 30 rounds tonight. Full FBS. The roster requirements are 2 quarterback, 2 running back, 3 wide receiver, 1 tight end, and I believe 1 or 2 flex. Can't remember off the top of my head, but regardless, you're drafting a lot of running backs and wide receivers, so what does it matter at the end of the day? And like I said, it's 30 rounds, so you'll have a full roster of 30 people to go by the end of this. Scoring points here, we got 4-point passing touchdowns. We are full PPR for this draft. Normal tight end scoring, so like it's PPR, but you know there's no extra points for tight ends or anything like that. All that out of the way. Hopefully that answers any questions anybody might have about the format of this draft. So let's get to the fun part. Let's introduce our guest tonight, and that is Mr. John Laub, the Gridiron Scholar himself, the professor of CFF. Welcome on, John. Always love having you on, man.
Oh, thanks for having me on. My summer just started in Connecticut. We end late in the school year, so I'm on day 4 of summer vacation. So this couldn't be a better evening than hanging out with you guys. And, you know, we've been doing a draft, Jared, for the CFF site. It's been great prep work.
Oh, yeah.
So we've been doing that. I think we're in round 20 or 21. And I think right now this is going to be my 8th or 9th draft. I forget exactly now. They're starting to build up, but I'm pretty fired up. I love these live drafts with you every year.
No, it's a ton of fun. And speaking of which, I'm going to go ahead and have that pulled up just in case it comes to my... I'm 2 picks away in that draft, so it's good that I have that ready to go. Yeah, let me go ahead and throw up the draft page here so that everybody can see it. I do not see our chat box going. Let me see if I can fix that real quick. Oops, that's not what I meant to do.
Oops, I'm now chat.
You are now chat, John. All right, we're gonna see if we can fix that. There we go. Getting that. Fix it. Yep, there we go. Got it fixed. Got that beautiful technology working as it should. Anyway, again, for those of you just joining us, this may be your first draft live stream you're tuning into or watching later and everything. Like I said, basically we're doing a live college fantasy draft tonight. The other part of this is a Q&A session. This is a time for all of you guys out there to ask questions in the chat. John and I are here. We love talking about our picks. Which is, again, we can always just talk about that the whole time, but really this is an opportunity for you guys. Tell us the burning questions you have. Ask us about Middle Tennessee State. Ask us about the tight end 3 at Charlotte. I will, like, please actually don't do that. But you guys get my point, right? Like, this is the time to talk to us. This is easily the most accessible time we have with all of you guys. And again, John's on a ton of shows, so like again, he's a very smart guy. This is an epic time for you guys to pick his brain on several things. John, before I start looking at the chat for questions and everything, you are at the 105. I am actually not drafting with you guys tonight because of a series of events that basically led to me miscounting how many people I already had in this draft. And by the time I realized there were 12 people in here already, I was like, well, I'm not going to ask anybody to drop out, so I'm just going to chill here. I'll answer questions and everything. Mitch says I'm scared. Probably halfway true. But John, you're at the 105 there. I guess before we get into the questions and everything, what do you look for in the first round?
So we know that it's been running back heavy, and I think you actually very seriously have to consider a contrarian approach, especially in these large tournaments or when you're in very competitive best ball leagues. I look at this board and I believe I know at least 7 people on this board, so I've seen them in other leagues. That means they're competitive. And what I mean by that, the other day, the other draft I alluded to, I think I was in the 5th spot again, Jared, and I went contrarian with back-to-back wide receivers. Not sure if I'm going to pull that off tonight. I'm thinking about it. I have a couple minutes here before the draft starts. But I do think a contrarian roster build is a very interesting way to try to win one of these leagues, because it is overwhelming. And I'm sure you've had the same sense, Jared. How many times have you seen someone go 3 straight running backs? I've seen 3 and 4 teams do it out of 12. And when I see that kind of strategy repetitively built, it says to me that I've got to try to find edges elsewhere. That's my thought process, because I've done a bunch of them opening up with 3 running backs, but I have tried, as I said in the CFF site, I opened up with back-to-back wide receivers.
So let me ask you then, John, and this is kind of the question I think a lot of people will have, right? If you're going to forego that early rounds of running back, right, you're giving up a lot of certainty there with that position in order to go after wide receivers or quarterbacks, what have you. What do you then look for later in the draft, right, when it comes to running backs, right? Like, if you're going to forego that position early, how do you make up for that later on?
So I'll just say there is some value at running back in my book, in my ranking. So that's one. I do tend to find some value. 2, I'm very comfortable with high-end players. Like, let's say C.J. Donaldson at Ohio State. He's a late-round pick. Now, he's going to have a game or so where he smashes, Jared. He's going to score 2 or 3 touchdowns at 80 yards rushing and 1 or 2 catches. Now, there's also going to be weeks where he's getting 5 carries for 20 yards. But in a best ball setting, that doesn't really bother me too much. So I think it's okay to find value in running back by committees. I will say this, in a 30-team roster build, if I'm bypassing running backs, I'm going to draft 11, 12, or 13. Because I'm going to bank like I drafted the 2 wide receivers. I believe it was Jordan Tyson and Cam Coleman. I'm probably going to go light on wide receiver, Jared, banking that my big guys can carry me through most weeks. And then all I need is 2 running backs out of my 12 to smash that week. So it's a different build, and there's definitely risk, but I do like to differentiate around the edges.
See, I think for me, and I think this is where a lot of people fall, and that's why you're seeing the running back heavy build, is that with wide receiver being such a volatile position in general already, so like up and down week to week, that's why you're kind of okay hitting them later, because again, later you'll have some of those guys where all you need is a couple weeks out of them, versus running backs, you'll need something to happen in some of those rooms for some of those later guys to really pay off, right? So like take a Jacoby Williams, even if you believe that he will be the RB2 for Texas Tech this year, if you're drafting him later, banking on a couple big performances, you need something to happen to Quentin Joyner, which I think a lot of people are. Again, I personally, and I think a lot of other people don't like banking on stuff like injuries and stuff like that, which not necessarily what you're doing, right? Like you said, if a guy's talented enough, he'll break off some weeks and he'll have some big weeks, but that's already a natural part of the wide receiver position. I think that's why guys like myself, I am way more comfortable drafting wide receivers late, because I can see more explosive weeks out of some of these later guys. You'll see it especially tomorrow when the second part of the last round series that I've been doing. I had to bring on Justin Leo, aka Volume Pigs, to help me out with picking out some late round running backs, because just naturally I find more value at wide receiver later. All right, draft begins. We got Jeremiah Smith. We got Desmond Reed off the board. If I had to guess, I have to imagine Darius Taylor will be the 3rd pick here, because that just happens to be the top 3 that go right there. John, obviously you're in the 5th pick, but how do you rank those 3 guys?
I have Reed 1, Jeremiah Smith 2, and then I go Darius Taylor 3.
Yeah.
I know there's risk with Reed, but man, Jared, he's so dynamic with the ball in his hands. So I drafted Jordan Tyson the other day at this spot. Jared, I like to try different strategies, so I'm definitely not taking Jordan Tyson here. I'm going to do, because I also want viewers to see a different build. And I think there are people always going to go quarterback early. So I'm going to go quarterback here because I want people who are watching, if they're thinking of building around a quarterback, maybe this is a way to do it to be contrarian. I'm going to take my number one guy, and it's Cade Klubnik. I think his floor is so high. His ceiling is crazy high. I'm going to take Klubnik there. I know it's different. It's probably a little earlier, but I wanted to show people how to build contrarian.
I need to find the tweet. I think it was College Football Nerds had a really good tweet about Klubnik recently where compared to his yards per attempt, his touchdown rate was absolutely insane last year. Are you concerned at all about him kind of regressing in that department this year?
I mean, I would be if they had a running back I like. I do think Clemson is the most absolute loaded at wide receiver. I think they have the best wide receiver room, 1 for 4 in the nation. You can argue that I don't think Antonio Williams or DJ Moore is in the top, 4, but they're very solid as a unit. And Klubnik is a runner. He's still going to run with his legs. I mean, might he take a dip? Yes, that's obviously a factor, but I think at the end of the day, Jared, he's still going to have 30 touchdowns, and he's going to run for 7 or 8.
Yeah, I think Klubnik is easily one of the safest bets this year. Clemson's offense should be absolutely dynamic this year. Again, that wasn't me saying like Klubnik is a bad pick.
I get it.
That was just me, like a tweet that I saw that I'm like, okay, we talk about touchdown regression all the time, but I agree with you. Without Clemson having a stud running back there, they're going to feed it through Klubnik. Now, maybe Adam Randall surprises us, right? He is making that position switch, and we've seen that work out for guys before, right? Obviously, Gideon Davison, huge wild card in that backfield, right? A lot of hype for him coming in. A lot of people think he'll start for Clemson this year, but we kind of were thinking the same thing about David Eziamume last year, and look how that kind of turned out. So, all right, let's see. Any questions in the chat here? Tommy Harvey says, is this the year Jared wins the Kings Classic? Yes, sir, it is. Mitch Hart says, does drafting against experts, quote unquote, make you follow ADP a bit more than your own personal list, or vice versa, John?
That's a great... Oh, how do I get sniped this early?
Oh, you're gonna do double QBs early. Okay.
I was going to go double QB. Now, I'm sorry, I'll answer your question in a second. I want to look at the running back and wide receiver board. I just did that build. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go all or nothing. I'm going to go Lenore Sellers.
The Palmetto State duo. Let's do it.
I'm going to be all in on South Carolina TV this year, Jared. So I don't use ADP too much. Now, I'm not. So if a guy's ADP number 150, Jared, I'm not taking him at 90. And if someone beats him to me, that's completely okay. But if he's 150 and I like him and it's 130, I might take him there. I will say when I'm in a so-called experts draft, I tend to draft a little differently because I just believe if you follow everyone, it's very hard to win when everyone's doing the same thing. Hey, you might hit the nuts like last year. Saquon Barkley, NFL second round, right? And you drafted 2 or 3 running backs. You won it, but that's because of Saquon, not necessarily your roster build.
Yep.
So I think there is still value. And I like these 2 quarterback leagues. Constructing a roster with high-end quarterbacks, I think is an overlooked factor. And what I like, Jared, is I don't have to look at the quarterback position now for, 14, 15 rounds. I love that.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like with the 2 quarterback build early, like I'm somebody I typically wait on quarterback. Usually 7th through like 12th round is where I do my damage at quarterback. Now that you got your 2 studs here, like how late are you willing? And I guess like you said, 15th round is probably when you start looking again.
Yeah, I'll watch the board a little bit. I have some sleepers, and I know a bunch of people are viewing, so I don't want to give out any names right this second.
Exactly.
But there's like 2 or 3 guys I really like, and if I'm fearful of them in round 14, maybe, but I feel really good with some players who I have ranked in the top 30, and especially in a best ball where I don't have to predict when to put them in the lineup. And this is what I like about Klubnik Sellers. This is the second time I've done it, Jared. Their 4 bye weeks are all different.
Oh, very nice.
I've looked at that a lot this year. So now I'm going to be boring. I'm going to go running back, Jared. Let me just see who's gone off the board. Woo! I haven't looked at all. Okay, let me see which running back I like the best here.
You got your paper list in front of you?
I've grown up a little bit. I've got my computer screen, so I'm looking at that. You know what I'm going to do here? I like this player a lot, and he might burn me, or I'm going to win some leagues with him. Waymon Jordan, USC.
Good call.
I think the ceiling is so high for Jordan if he gets the pass catching chores in Lincoln Riley's offense.
Yeah, no, Lincoln Riley's running backs have been just, I wouldn't say they're gold, but man, are they just safe bets the last couple of years, right? Between Marshawn Lloyd, between Woody Marks last year, right? Again, it's hard, like you said, it's hard to tell what Jordan's going to do in that passing game. I doubt he's going to get quite that workload that Woody Marks got last year, because Woody Marks was made to be a pass-catching running back. Jordan definitely a wild card in that front, but the beat report have all been very consistent that Jordan is the guy for USC this year. Meanwhile, guys like Brian Jackson and Eli Sanders will be spelling him while he's kind of the main guy. So we're 3 rounds in here, John. I want to remind everybody out there that are watching, one, thank you so much for joining us. This is going to be an absolute great time here tonight. If you guys got questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. I'm about to start looking back through the chat, make sure I didn't miss anything from you guys. I know, Mitch, you asked that question about ADP versus personal list there, but if you guys got more questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. In addition, help us out, guys. We do a lot of hard work for these and everything. So you can help us out by doing 2 free things. You can like the video right now. That would help us out a ton. I've seen a couple of you have already gone ahead and done that. Appreciate you guys for doing that. If you have not done it, go ahead and click that little button. 2, if you're watching this and you're not subscribed to the channel for whatever reason, please go ahead and do that as well. We got a ton of subscribers last week. I want to keep that momentum going. If you, oh wow, the like number just shot right up. Well done, guys. If you're not subscribed and everything, go ahead and do that. If you are subscribed, hit that little share button and send this to 3 or 4 of your college football buddies. Have them come in here. Have them ask questions. We are here to talk about CFF. We're also here just to talk about college football in general. We love the sport of college football. We're willing to answer questions. I know Josh Chevalier and I last week were talking about, NIL, the future of college football.
Back-to-back quarterbacks, Beltcamp and Navarro. I like it.
I'll ask you, John, though. Do you think there's a difference between drafting 2 Power 4 quarterbacks versus drafting 2 G5 quarterbacks early?
So I want to do research, if not, hopefully next winter. I've just been so busy. I want to know the reality. If I took the top 10 Power 4 quarterbacks and the top 10 G5 quarterbacks every year and put them together, I need a statistical number. How many of them end up in the top 20 overall? What I mean by that, I think anecdotally, just, this is 18th year doing this.
Yep.
G5 quarterbacks appear to be a little bit more riskier because the parts around them change. Offensive linemen, wide receivers, defense can fall apart. They lose that key coach, right? But I need a statistical number to back it up, and I need to do research on. But that's something I think about lately myself.
All right, John, you're back on the board here, but I'll go ahead and start throwing out some questions here. We got one from Dynasty Psych saying, who's winning that North Texas quarterback job? We were just debating this earlier in our CFF Slack here at Campus of Canton. I'm kind of getting to the point where I'm pretty confident that Poffenbarger is going to end up winning that job, mostly because Messemaker had the advantage coming into fall camp, right? He started the bowl game. They were going to give him that first shot and everything. But by the time spring ends, Poffenbarger was that first quarterback they threw out there during their spring game, right? I really do think that this staff at the end of the day is going to go with a guy that, no offense, is a experienced veteran quarterback over a guy like Messamaker who didn't start in high school for most of his career and actually came on as a walk-on safety for North Texas. I really think that that's just going to be too much risk for that staff to really go in for. I think that based on what the staff was saying during the fall, that Poffenbarger is going to have to mess up big time in the fall in order for him to lose that job, right? They're relying on him making that big step in fall camp, learning the playbook. And if he doesn't learn that playbook, obviously then they got to make that tough decision. And as Mitch points out in the chat, which one of those guys is getting more NIL money? Poffenbarger, the guy they just brought in, or the walk-on safety from last year, right? Who started one game. I think I'm going with Poffenbarger. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be the walk-on safety, but call me crazy. I could be wrong. What I do think is interesting, I have Poffenbarger higher in my rankings. But if you're going to do that, I think you have to acknowledge that you have to draft both quarterbacks.
Agreed.
So you have to find a point in the draft. I think you have to say to yourself, maybe I'm going to go 13th and 14th round on the two North Texas quarterbacks, because you're obviously banking on the system, right? Mm-hmm. And Jared, we've all been there, I think, at least I've been in my tenure, where you take a quarterback you really like, and by week 3, he's out, or the coach has benched them, or something happened, and you don't have the backup for the system, right? And that just drives me nuts. So if you're doing it, I just think you have to say to yourself, I'm going to allocate 2 roster spots to the North Texas quarterbacks.
No, I agree 100%. And Josh and I talked about this on last week's episode. When we have systems like this, where we know for a fact that whoever wins that job is likely a top 10 quarterback for CFF, it's worth it to spend 2 picks on them. Another spot is the UL Monroe running backfield, right? Like, whether it's Zach Palmer-Smith or true freshman Deshaun Ford, whichever one of them starts is going to be fed 200-plus carries. That's just what Brian Vincent does, and by all accounts, it sounds like that's exactly what they're going to do again this year. So it's worth, in my opinion, just taking both those guys. I've been doing it in Dynasty. I've been aggressive. I've been trading up in rounds to get 2 back-to-back picks so I can just snag both of those guys at the same time, right? Just go ahead and lock down that room. So.
I got to give credit. Shout out to Carp there. I think it's the same Carp I know on Twitter. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, for sure.
Okay. He got Nussmeier and McGowan back-to-back, man. They're both in my top 10. I like that. One G5, one P4. I love the upside of that quarterback build. So I have a question here. Oh, he took my guy. TJ Moore. All right. Stupid question, Justin. Is it full point PBR or half point?
It's a full point PPR.
All right, then you made my decision. I'm going Jamal Haynes, Georgia Tech.
All right. Very nice.
So I like it because I do think he has. I know there's some competition in the backfield, but Haynes is the explosive pass catcher there. And in the 1 point, I definitely have him graded higher than in the half point PPR.
I'll have to take a look at where I have him ranked in my PPR projections versus standard, but I definitely agree that he'll probably end up higher in that format. The big thing with Haynes for me a lot of times is that very safe floor, but also very cap ceiling. Again, Buster Faulkner does not do he has a clear RB1 obviously in Jamal Haynes, but that's different than a workhorse, right? And that's why with Haynes going to the 5th round, I probably stayed away from him a little bit in that range. Other question here. Mitch asks, what's the latest on the Texas running back room? He thinks that Wisner's going too high and Baxter is a value. I am full on in on Wisner. He is a round 2 value in college fantasy drafts for me at this point. I think that Baxter is fool's gold at this point. The dude's coming off of both an MCL and an LCL injury. LCL and ACL in his right knee. That's a big combo of injuries in his right knee, and he has only just been cleared to practice. Let's see, when was this? Like within the past couple weeks. Like, he missed basically all of spring. He's not going to be a factor, or at least a major factor in that backfield this year. He injured himself in fall camp of last year, so at best, he's full go, like, at just the start of the season. They're not going to give a guy like Baxter, who also has put on some weight this offseason, so he'll need to shed some of that. before he gets going again. I think Baxter is, in my opinion, just a bad pick around this point because he's still going in the top 15 rounds, and I'm not even sure that he even really is a top 2 back for Texas this year, at least to start the year.
I concur with you. I don't think I might have Baxter in one draft early in the process, but the news has been worse and worse as far as the injury, I think. And Wisner's getting a lot of positive press out of that.
A lot of love.
Now, I will say if I was in the 25th round, like we're doing a 30-round draft, maybe I take a Baxter. But it's got to be, it's such an exceptional value, Jared, that he's not, I don't think I've had him in a queue for months. Like when, we're doing these large drafts, at least I always have players in the queue. I have 5 right now. And I don't remember putting Baxter in the queue for a really long time, let alone drafting him.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, John, it's coming around here. I was trying to do some quick calculations for my rank because I am curious to see how much higher Jamal Haynes is in a PPR format. Let me double check. RJ asks, what do you, John, specifically think of Jordan Marshall's value with ADP as opposed to Haynes going earlier? Is he worth the handcuff?
Oh, I definitely think he's worth the handcuff. And it's definitely a guy I'm going to have to consider later in the draft. Now, sometimes the eyeball test doesn't work, but I look at the numbers. And Jamal Haynes has been good, right? Not great, but good. He can pop off a big game. And Jared, my eyeball test tells me he's a really good football player.
Yep.
So what does that tell me? You get the ball in his hands. Maybe he's in the slot more often. Maybe you put him in the motion. Maybe they use more 2-back formations. Like, I still think 200 touches are in the outcome realm for Haynes. Now, I do agree Marshall should be the handcuff. Absolutely.
Yeah, Marshall will definitely be the handcuff. But, like, as I kept looking at it, like, Marshall so far in his career, like, granted, he had the single year last year, but even in the spring game, like, he hasn't just looked very impressive so far. Not that I don't think he ever will be, right? But at the same time, like, when Justice Haynes is given his opportunity, he flashed in the bowl game or not the bowl game, he flashed in the spring game for Michigan. He flashed at Alabama. It made you wonder why he wasn't getting a workhorse load at times at Bama, right? And I like you said, John, I think he's just a better back, and he'll be getting that standard Michigan RB1 workload for sure. Marshall's a good handcuff though if Justice Haynes were ever to go down. All right. Jamal?
Yes, absolutely. I'm just watching the board. Sorry about that, everyone.
No, you are okay, John. All right. So actually, surprisingly, Jamal Haynes only 2 spots higher when I go to PPR rankings. I was kind of surprised by that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Knight Frazier, I had him in my queue. All right. Trying to look at my wide receiver rankings. I'm coming up. He's going a lot higher. Zach Palmer-Smith. He seems to be one of the hottest players right now.
Hottest players, and the guy that has equal chance of getting the RB1 job, in my opinion, Deshaun Ford, is basically going last 5 rounds. I talk about it on tomorrow's CTN. All right, Patson is a placeholder for Emmett Mosley, I have to imagine. So, yeah,
that's Carp, right?
Yep. John, you just took Caleb Douglas there at Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Obviously, they have Matt Leftwich now calling the plays. For those that don't know, he was the former offensive coordinator there at Texas State, basically the underling to G.J. Kinney for years. So now he's kind of on his own here at Texas State, at Texas Tech. Douglas plays outside. Coy Eakin, by all reports, will be moving inside with Reggie Virgil coming in to play that other outside role. Typically, it's been the slot for Leftwich and G.J. Kinney. But, John, what do you like about Caleb Douglas that you think he can transcend that?
I'm definitely a sizeist, and I don't know if that makes me good or bad. But when I was doing the research, I think Douglas is 6'2", 200 pounds. He originally went to the University of Florida. I watched some Florida tape of him. I've watched him at Texas Tech. I think he has a very high ceiling, a very high floor. I don't know if he has a 1,300-yard ceiling, but he's going to get targets. Mm-hmm. And I think we're buying targets in general of good systems. I like Texas Tech. in the Big 12. I mean, if you look at all the books, they're like, no one knows who's going to win this conference, right?
Yep.
All over the map. So I think there's going to be a lot of high-scoring outcomes in these games. So I'll take them there. Up my wide receiver, I got to think.
Yep, you are up here in the 7th round here, John. A couple of quarterbacks come off the board. Our first tight end came off the board there with Kenyon Sadiq. Obviously, a lot of hype going here. I'll be curious to see how much of a gap there is between Sadiq and the rest of the tight ends here. Because my stance on Sadiq has been, I get what people are seeing in terms of, like, he could have that Tyler Warren-esque season, especially if Oregon can't get anybody else to really be receiving options. But at the same time, that's also assuming that Sadiq himself also doesn't disappoint, right? Like, people are kind of assuming, like, oh yeah, Sadiq will be awesome no matter what. Sadiq's been fine so far in his college season. I think a lot of people see athleticism and they think, well, obviously he's got a super high ceiling, but I just don't see the idea of why Sadiq should be treated as this, tier 1 tight end versus all the other guys kind of going a little bit later than him. How do you view Sadiq, John?
So if I just put him in the tight end group, forget about all other positions. When I consider ceiling and I look at the system and the success that Oregon has had, and they're failed now with Evan Stewart, and their other guy is the Corian Moore, a freshman wide receiver, that ceiling for Sadiq is incredibly high. Now, he might just be average. He might be a great athlete who just isn't a very good football player / fantasy producer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it depends on roster build. I don't mind him in round 7 and 8. 6 seems a little early because I still like other players on the board, but I understand in a best ball format why he's there. I have him ranked number 2 right now, but it's based on his ceiling and who's going to catch passes for the Ducks this year. I mean, I just look. It's a pretty for Oregon. Jared, am I wrong? Doesn't it look like a pretty weak wide receiver locker room right now?
Oh, they've definitely taken hits over the last couple of years, and a lot of it has to do just miss after miss on the recruiting trail for wide receiver. That's why they threw so much money at Corian Moore this year, because they're like, we can't have a third straight class where we're just not having guys break out. I think that people underestimate Gary Bryant a little bit more. He didn't play a lot last year because he got injured pretty early on. I think Gary Bryant's a fine wide receiver for, Big Ten play. And a lot of people are like, well, Evan Stewart went down, some more targets for Sadiq. Maybe, but Evan Stewart was going to be that main outside guy. That's not going to be really unless Sadiq just fully goes to wide receiver and, just becomes their ex-wide receiver. That's a completely different story if that is what ends up happening.
Yes.
Right, but in terms of like where those targets are going to go, unless they just only attack the middle of the field going forward, like I don't really see how Evan Stewart going down, him going down, I don't think benefits Sadiq as much as people want it to, right? Because again, they play 2 very different roles in that offense.
I agree with you on that, but there's if you're a coach, right, and you've lost. I don't know offhand. Did Stewart have over 100 targets or maybe had 80 last year?
I think like 85 or something like that.
You've now opened up 85 targets and you lose Tez Johnson.
Yeah.
Aren't you then saying to yourself, who are my best players in this passing game?
Mm-hmm.
I don't see how Sadiq isn't your number 2 target. I just don't know how you could look at that and not conclude he's your number 2. Now, if you think it's a freshman Moore or you like Gary Bryant, but I just think Sadiq. So what do? You tweak the offense. Let me try to make my pick here. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. And what I would say to that, John, is I think there's a decent chance that Oregon just runs the heck out of the ball this year. They got Mekhi Hughes. They got Noah Whittington, who's a veteran of that program at this point. They got some good guys in that backfield right now. Again, does that mean they're going to turn into like a triple option team and like only run the ball? No, absolutely not. Right. A lot of the passing game will come down to what Dante Moore can do, right? And hopefully with him sitting a year and getting a chance to really feel that offense, they can hit the ground running with him pretty quickly. So I trust Will Stein. I trust that offense to get going. Again, I have Kenyon Sadiq as my tight end 4. So like this is not me like saying like Kenyon Sadiq's going to be a bust or anything like that. I'm just saying I'm looking at this board right now. Kenyon Sadiq went off at 6'12". Here we are in the 8th round and another tight end has not come off the board. I don't get the gap. Right.
Well, if he took Sadiq right now at 8'12", I would say that's a really nice, fair value.
Yeah.
I don't like the 6th round myself.
I'm fine with Sadiq going in the same range as the other top tight ends. I just don't get him going ahead that much of all the other guys. That's my stance on Sadiq. Speaking of which, our second tight end comes out the board there, Justin Joly. That's kind of surprising.
Ooh.
So
I don't think I've seen him go number 2. Have you, Jared?
I have not. That kind of surprised. But again, I kind of get it because to me, the top tier of tight ends are all roughly the same in value for the most part, and so I'm fine with whatever order they come out the board in. My favorite tight end isn't even a guy that usually comes off until like the 6th or 7th tight end off the board, and that's John Michael Gillenborg. I think there's a decent shot he could be the only tight end that reaches 1,000 yards this year. They're going to pepper the absolute hell out of him there at Wyoming.
I know I've heard you talk about him, and I've been looking at him more and more. I think I moved him up a little bit up my board. I mean, just can't. I mean, my only problem is, can I trust the Wyoming offense? I want to, right? I think they've been pretty bad, but you're right as far as like pecking order, where are the targets going? All of that's right. But then I just say to myself, are they going to score more than 20 points a game? That's my only major concern there. Now, I was just noticing 2 teams have not taken a quarterback. So I think this is very good for people who are watching Debbie Warehouse and Mitch. Neither one has taken a quarterback, and we're looking at what pick number 7 and 12. So if you're following the board online or you're following on the video, you can check out 2 other teams who are building completely opposite as I am, and you can see the difference, how the quarterbacks come out at the end, everyone.
No, agreed 100%. And John, I'll let you speak on this real quick before we get back to some of these questions in the chat. Don't worry, guys. I didn't forget about you guys. We'll get to you guys here. But John, you'll actually touch on one of the questions here because you waited on wide receiver. You took Douglas, you took Stribling, you took Cameron. What are you looking for? Like what? Why those 3 guys? What were you looking for once you waited on wide receiver?
Systems that I believe in with high variance outcome. I think all 3 could go 22 points one week and literally give me 4.2 points next week.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what, Jared? I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay with that in this system. Now, I'm going to do something I haven't done, and I wanted to, but I kept getting sniped, so I'm going to take him today. You mentioned him earlier. Adam Randall. In this setup, folks, he qualifies a running back and wide receiver. Hey, if Klubnik throws a touchdown to him and he runs a touchdown in, I like building the pass catching quarterback wide receiver duo. That's how, and I wanted to say this to give a shout out earlier. We got busy. Let me see what team it is. Oh, Kane, 863 Kane has Veltkamp and Easton Messer. I like that build. If Kitley's offense, right? If Kitley's offensive hits, he's gold in this league.
No, agreed 100%. That is a very, very good early round stack there. I trust that a lot. Interesting thing that that Tom Harvey did here. He went back-to-back tight ends. He took Joly and Stowers, and I just checked all 4 different bye weeks. So he's good on that front.
That's a good, Jared, everyone watch those tight ends at the bye weeks. If you're only going to draft 2, which most people seem to do, you better get those. But I've been looking at that. I don't mind 3 tight ends with different bye weeks. But if you're going to go 2, Tom did the right thing right there.
Yeah, double checking those bye weeks. And I would say now Tom has basically locked himself into not taking another tight end until the last 2 rounds of this draft. If you're going to spend that high to grab 2 guys with very safe floors, I would say, between Joly and Stowers, like I don't think that those guys bust unless there's injury. then there's literally no reason to grab another tight end until the end of this draft. Just take 2 upside guys at the very end or 1 upside guy at the very end, whatever you do. Like, it's an interesting thing. We'll see how that goes. Let's answer some of these questions in the chat. Dynasty Psych says, what do you make of the Ole Miss running back room? You know, you got Damian Taylor, you got Logan Diggs, you got Keywan Lacey coming in. How are you kind of breaking down that backfield, John?
Right now, I'm not drafting any of them. I think we're looking at the dreaded running back by committee until I hear something out of training camp. And maybe I'm wrong looking at Lane Kiffin's quotes, looking at the offense. You know, he's been talking about Caden Lee. He talks about Austin Simmons, the new quarterback. Has he really kind of targeted a running back that he likes? I mean, to me, that screams running back by committee or hot hand approach. And I think in fantasy, that's what we want to stay away from.
What, real quick, John, before I give you my thoughts on the Ole Miss room, but which is worse to you, the hot hand approach or the committee approach?
Oh, the hot hand approach. Because at least with the committee, I can say, here's the pass catcher, here's the touchdown guy, and in the best ball, I can target one or the other. The hot hand is just, because that just drives me nuts.
Yeah, no, because you never know exactly what's going to happen week to week.
You never know.
I get it from a perspective, like a coach perspective, right? Like, yeah, give the guy who's doing well, let him keep rolling, right? But other than that, like, yeah, it can get so messy so quickly. My Ole Miss take is all of them are going late enough that if you want to take a shot, go ahead. My personal favorite is Keywan Lacey. I think he has the talent. Logan Diggs, I mean, he'll be a safe bet for Ole Miss this year, but he doesn't really strike me, especially coming off that many injuries in a row. Like, I think he'll just be there to kind of be a stopgap for Ole Miss's running back, a lot like what Henry Parrish was for them last year, where guys go down, he could become the workhorse running back just by default there. And then Damian Taylor, he's a committee piece at best. I think that was a bag transfer. He was going there for the money his final season in college. Maybe he gets in front of enough NFL scouts that he could get taken at the NFL level.
Oh, Sawyer Robertson, Marcel Reed back-to-back, 2 of my favorite quarterbacks.
Very nice.
I just took Marcel Reed. I had no intention of taking him in our draft that we're doing with the CFF site, Jared.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I got him in round like 13 or 14. I was like, I just can't let him sit out. You ever get there when you're drafting? You're like, I got him in enough leagues. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't let him sit. I like him too much. So I like that in round 10.
That's how I am with a lot of the Charlotte players. Again, I think I'm higher on Charlotte's offense than anybody else this year. And I think literally last week I was like, I could go a different quarterback than Connor Harrell because I got a lot of shares of Connor Harrell this year. But yeah, I'm still gonna go with it. Brett Pagny asks thoughts on the UNLV offense. Obviously, Calandria and Alex Orji are battling out for the quarterback position there. What are your thoughts on those guys, John? And do you have any other skill position guys you might be looking at there?
I just took them in our league. I'm sorry, I'm referring to the league. We're literally just doing it, and I'm in summer school. I just took Jatavian Thomas, the running back. I love him in Mullen's system. We don't have a surefire thing at the quarterback. I'm all in on Jatavian Thomas. He might be one of those players, like, if he gets the 850 yards and 9 touchdowns, and somehow he gets about 35 receptions, he could help me a lot. And I was reading, the player himself was talking about Dan Mullen's offense and how he's been following Dan Mullen for years. And he was talking about what he likes is Dan Mullen is teaching him how to be a better pass catcher. Mm-hmm. And I found that when the player's saying that, I'm all in, man. That means he's listening to the coach. So let me make my pick here.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. You took your first tight end. You took Tradez Green there. Once you make your pick here, talk to us about him and then whoever else you take here.
So you're going to freak out on this, everyone, but I'm going for the combo again. I'm taking Nick Harbor, who qualifies at wide receiver and tight end. He also has different bye weeks than Tre'Davious Green, and I got Lenoris Sellers. the whole world likes Lenore Sellers. From the national media, Phil Steele, Devi, Dynasty, draft prospects. Who's he throwing to, Jared?
Yeah.
I mean, I just keep looking at the wide receiver room, and maybe I'm overrating it, but since he's got tight end eligibility here with wide receiver eligibility, now I got two players who have dual eligibility, and in these best ball leagues, that means a lot to me. Like, I've seen it work out where you're like, oh, Nick Harbor went off, Tre'Davious Green went off, Harbor goes into my wide receiver spot. Something like that. So I like these players with positional value.
No, I think again, definitely earlier than I've seen him taken in a lot of drafts, right? But I understand the logic, right? For Harbor to really pay off, especially at the tight end position, you don't need him to be wide receiver 1 for South Carolina. No! You may not even need him to be the top 2 wide receivers. You just need him to hit 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, and you've got yourself a solid tight end for CFF, right? That's all you need out of him. So yeah, why not take that shot, especially when you got another upside shot there with Tre'Davious Green. We'll see how that works out. I love Dylan Reynolds' pick there with Joe Royer.
Oh, yeah.
In the 11th round there. Again, just among this entire top tier of tight ends, Royer might end up with the most receptions out of any of them. And I think that Reynolds is like, he might be the receiving 1 option for Cincinnati. He could end up with the most targets by the end of the year among tight end positions. I think Dylan was smart and waited and grabbed a guy there while everybody else spent up.
I love Royer. He is such a nice high floor. I wonder about that Cincinnati offense. I mean, and we were spoiled last year, weren't we? I mean, Harold Fannin, Warren out of Penn State. Mm-hmm. But man, that's not normal to get 2 stud tight ends like that. But if you get a guy like Royer who's going to get you 12 to 13 points every week. I mean, Jared, you probably had teams, so have I. When you're getting the 0 with the tight end week after week because you got an injury or 2, and then or the guy's just not good. You're just
trying to stream week to week.
It's brutal, dude. It's brutal.
Absolutely.
All right,
brutal.
I got to get a wide receiver here now. You know what? Everyone's going to think this is crazy, but I do like him, and it's a best ball format. I'm taking Joseph Williams for Colorado.
I like that value here.
What?
I said I like that value here.
Yeah, 12th round for a guy who has, again, I like it. I think he's going to go 3 for 80 and a touchdown 1 week, and 3 for 28 the next week. But that's okay in a best ball setting with Deion Sanders and Caden Salter. And I'm kind of come around. I've had Caden Salter in my top 36 for a while. He's going to be all right in that offense. They're going to throw the ball like crazy.
We another debate we were having in the CFF Slack over at Campus They Can't, and I'm on the side where I do think they will change that offense because of Salter. I mean, the dude's capped out at 290 pass attempts at Liberty the last 2 years. Granted, that's part of the offense, but like, you're not going to see him go from that to 400 plus pass attempts. I think you find a happy medium right around 325 to 350.
Yep,
which is still an upgrade for him, right? And he's got weapons. As Mitch points out here, though, like, I like Joseph Williams, don't get me wrong. Again, a lot of hype behind him, behind camp and everything, but I'm really interested in Amarian Miller. Last time we saw Caden Salter feed a wide receiver 1 for college fantasy in CJ Daniels, it was that explosive, deep threat on the outside. Williams obviously will play at the Z position, but Amarian Miller playing there on the X position and just being that deep threat and just letting Caden Salter just cook that ball down the field and let Miller catch that ball down the field. I think Miller might end up being the bargain for Colorado. Go ahead.
I think all 3 of them are going to be all right in various weeks. You know how you did running back by committee?
Receiver by committee.
I think they have wide receiver by committee, which in a season long with starters is going to drive you nuts. But in the best ball, I'm okay with it.
Agreed. Again, this is a room worth going after.
Yes, absolutely. Now, I think I need a running back.
Yeah, you've taken wide receivers in, what is it, 6 of your last 7 picks?
I mean,
technically.
I knew I had a chase wide receiver, right? And when I do this contrarian strategy, I'm trying to find edges because I went 2 quarterback early. That's why I went 2 tight ends. I'm hoping that I can have a 5 to 8 point advantage every week at the tight end position. And then my quarterback, I mean, if they don't smash, I don't win. So it doesn't matter, right?
Agreed.
That my quarterbacks do what I expect and I'm winning on the edges. And right now I'm just going for quantity at the wide receiver. If I think the guy can get a 40-yard touchdown any given week, I'll take it. So I don't think I got a slot receiver, have I? I think I've gotten all home run guys.
These are all outside guys. And that was a question I was going to ask you earlier, John. Between standard and PPR formats, right? This is something that was kind of brought up on the Ballin' with My Besties show.
Yeah.
Where in a PPR format, slot receivers suddenly become more viable, right? Because they, just by definition, slot receivers, higher volume, less efficiency. Outside wide receivers, higher efficiency, less volume, right? So in a standard format, you want those outside wide receivers, right? Because they're like, when they get targeted and they get balls, they're going to have more yards per catch. Versus PPR, you just care about the volume. So then you go after slot receivers here. Obviously, it hasn't influenced your draft so far because, like you said, you've mostly taken outside guys here, right? But would you agree with that assessment, John?
Oh, yeah, and I will say, I got sniped on Caden Lee. He was in my queue. I would have loved to have had one high-end slot receiver. I was looking at Eugene Wilson of Florida. I like him to be peppered with targets.
Yep.
And Kevin Concepcion, kind of like the boring floor, right? Every week. 6 receptions, 72 yards, and if you get a touchdown, you're magic. Like, I like that, but I don't want 5 of them. Right? I want 1.
Yep.
Because I need that 20-point outburst. I mean, last year I think I was in the top 2 in the best ball league, and my slot receiver got injured, and all my home run guys got zeros. Like, I mean, you're like, if I had one guy who got me 14 points that week, I would have been so happy. But I love the wide variance of the outside receivers.
All right, let's answer some of these questions in the chat.
Sure.
Brett Ponyi asks, any thoughts on how the Illinois running back room is shaping up? I'll throw that one over to you, John.
I'm all Fagan. I like him. I've gotten him a lot. Froton just sniped me in our recent draft. He was in my queue. I wanted to get Fagan. It's basically Brett Bielema's system that I'm banking on, and I'm looking at the variance. Last year he got injured. I can't control injuries, but he's starting his 3rd season. He looks like the best player in the backfield, and I think there are times where he's just going to get massively peppered with touchdowns. Like, I love the 2 touchdowns and 80 yards rushing. I'm up now, so I got to look to see who I need here.
Yeah, Fagan looks like the best running back, and also looks like a monster. Dude's 6'3", 250 pounds.
Yes,
dude's a beast.
Now I don't see anyone talking about this guy, but I'm going to talk about him, so I'm going to draft him because I want it here. Mike Matthews. Man, it's system, isn't it? I mean, I see him going. I think I got I've been getting him around 18, 19. I don't know if he's great, but he's in a Josh Heupel system. And what if he just gets those 3 long touchdowns over 70 yards from that inside slot on that wide side of the field? I don't know. I think he's a classic bust or succeed. Like, he's going to be great or he's going to be beyond awful. What do you think about that, Jared?
I think that Tennessee's a hard system to predict right now because I'm not a believer in Joey Aguilar. I honestly think that Tennessee got desperate with their quarterback situation, right? Merklinger is not going to be a guy that Tennessee's ever going to love starting. I'm kind of interested in George McIntyre, the true freshman they have there, but again, he's a true freshman. He's going to need some time to cook. And then I think Tennessee was trying to lure some guys out in that spring portal, and nobody was biting.
Nobody was biting.
Nobody was biting, and so they just took the guy that transferred out of UCLA because he was the only real option available. So Mike Matthews is interesting, but it's like I'm not entirely believing in Tennessee this year. I think they could end up being worse than I think people are expecting them to be. And then in addition, you talk about like a system play, right? We've seen both slot and outside wide receivers for Tennessee perform. Jalen Hyatt was a slot. Cedric Tillman was an outside guy. Brew McCoy led them last year as an outside guy, right? Like, that passing game has not really shaped up how we wanted it the last couple of years to be like a true CFF system we can rely on. So I'm fine with the Mike Matthews pick. Is again, former 5-star guy. He's getting his shot now, but he didn't really do a ton as a true freshman either, which kind of surprised me, especially with how bad that wide receiver room for Tennessee was performing last year. That's a bit concerning, but again, 14th round, take the shot.
This is how I'm constructing this wide receiver room. I'm going high-end upside.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping he has 3 or 4 games where he makes my lineup, and hopefully he gets over 17 points in those games. So now I'm going to talk about a guy that no one's talked about, and I love getting on an air with Jared because I can talk about my guys, and I don't know if I'm overpaying or not, but I'm going to talk about him here. I got too much of him, and he's going to make or break my team, but I'm all in. Kenny Johnson, Pittsburgh. Man, read the reports, dudes. He's the guy. And I think Eli Holstein's good. I think he bounces back. I'm not saying he's great, but he's serviceable. And Kenny Johnson was better than people give him credit for last year. 537 yards. All the spring reports and everything that I read is marvelous on Kenny Johnson. And I love that offensive pit.
All right, we got some more questions in the chat here. Dustin D-Man Woodell asks, if you're in a league that is a 2-quarterback league, when should you take your second quarterback? I'm big on, I'm fine with an early quarterback. If you are certain that guy's going to get you 30, 35 points a game, if you're a big believer, yeah, take them early, right? But other than that, wait until that round 7 to 11 range. That is where I think a lot of the value of quarterback is looking at in this range. Bryson Barnes, Devin Dampier, Jaden Mayava, the Lincoln Riley quarterback, Josh Hoover, Sawyer Robertson, Marcel Lead, Byron Brown, Reese Poffenbarger, Matthew Saluka, a lot of great value falling in this range, and I think you will be just fine with that. And to pivot from that to the next question, Mitch asks, update on waiting on quarterback. How did he and Devi Warehouse do? I think Devi took Mayava and Hoover. I just called those out. Love that as a wait on quarterback strategy. And then Mitch took Jennings, Pavia, Green, and Simpson. That's a great quarterback room if you wait. What do you think, John?
Oh, well, I'm really mad because I love Taylon Green. I just took him. I got him very late as my 4th or 5th quarterback in the other draft. I love him in best ball. I mean, he's going to most likely have 3 games well over 30 points, right? And I love Mitch's quarterback build. I mean, I'm a big Kevin Jennings guy. I think he's a very high floor, very nice consistency. Pavia, Green, and Simpson are all very high ceilings. You need one of those 3 to hit. Then you have Jennings who gives you that nice 24 points, maybe 27 points every week. And I'll say, Mayava and Hoover, I love those two because I'm a Hoover guy. I think he's undervalued. And I agree with you originally, Jared. I think the sweet spot is round 7 to 9 at quarterback.
That range is really good. And honestly, I love that Ty Simpson pick there in the 14th. I think I'm higher on Ty Simpson than anybody else. Yeah, I know he's not going to be Jalen Milroe, right? But Kalen DeBoer is a quarterback machine for CFF between Michael Penix and Jalen Milroe last year and everything. I think we find a nice middle ground between those two guys in terms of what Simpson's going to do, right? He can run. He's not as prolific as a passer as I think Michael Penix is, but he'll have great weapons around him. Alabama, they're still going to be one of the better teams in the country, right? They're still going to be able to put up points each week. I think Simpson's very much undervalued. Baconfield / Elliot asks, what's one player that you two are higher on than anybody else and why? I'm going to actually give you one player at each position. I mentioned earlier, I'm big on the Charlotte guys, so I like Connor Harrell at Charlotte. I would say at Running back, I just took him in another draft, but Elijah Green out of Sam Houston. I'm big on the Phil Longo RB1 there, and I think Green's going to be that guy. And then at wide receiver, I would say, again, I legitimately think that, and I know a lot of people are kind of keying in on Devin Voisin there at South Alabama. And don't get me wrong, I'm rooting for the guy. I hope he does extremely well. I think there's a good shot that he's the wide receiver 1 for South Alabama, but don't sleep on Anthony Eager there. Again, he had a lot of hype in the spring there, and he very much has a lot of moxie to him. He wants to be that wide receiver 1 there at South Alabama. So if Devin Voisin does not fully return from injury like we hope he does, then Eager is going to slide right into that place. Real quick before we answer another question here, quick reminder, everybody, we're halfway through the draft. If you have not already, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And go ahead and share this with your friends. Let's invite some friends in here that just want to hang out and talk about college football. We are having a great time here tonight. Y'all have some great questions for us. Love all of the great variety of questions you guys have had for us. John, you just took C.J. Donaldson. You want to talk about that pick or anything else I said?
Well, I will say, I mentioned C.J. Donaldson earlier. This is about Ohio State blowing people out. This is about Donaldson with the ceiling. He's going to have at least 2 or 3 games where he busts loose. It could be a long catch. It could be a long touchdown run. It could be it could be 3 short yardage, 1-yard plunges. I don't expect him to make my lineup on a weekly basis, but I do think he's the type of high-end player. Because even at West Virginia, right, his variance on a game-by-game basis is pretty crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And I think with the Buckeyes, it's even going to be bigger variance. So I like him there. I think, what is he? If I look, is he my 5th running back or 6th running back?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5th running back.
5th running back. I like that in a high variance player there. And I'm banking on Ohio State. That's why I did it.
So, John,
right?
you took those 2 quarterbacks early with Klubnik and Sellers. You have not taken a quarterback since then. You kept your promise. You waited till at least the 15th round. Are you starting to think about hitting on quarterback here soon?
Jared, either you know me too well or you're a mind reader, because I'm staring at the quarterback board right now and placing a few in my queue. And I didn't want to answer the young man's question or our viewer's question about who sleepers are, because I got some quarterbacks here that I need as sleepers. I will say my wide receiver sleepers, Kenny Johnson. He's basically free in most leagues, so I still like him a ton. And at run, I like Jaden Bob Florida. I'm higher on him than most people. I think he's a very good young player. So I'm very high on him. And I'm probably going to go quarterback here.
John, you see what happened here? Where you said, hey, I'm looking at quarterback, and you see how 3 quarterbacks came off the board right there?
And I was going to take Julian saying.
These guys are evil. They'll do it to you.
These guys are evil. So, you know what I need right now? A nice floor quarterback.
Agreed.
Just in case. I'm going to go Fernando Mendoza. I think, I'm a big believer in Kirk Cignetti. And if you're listening to the tea leaves, and I know there's difference between NFL prospects and college fantasy football, but sometimes when the NFL starts identifying a player who's off the radar, they pop. And if you're listening to the national media right now when they're looking at quarterbacks, you know who they keep waxing poetically about?
Mendoza.
Fernando Mendoza. The big guys love him, and I liked him at Cal. But this is banking on Kurt Cignetti. I believe in him as a coach. They still have Elijah Surratt. And the NFL isn't usually that wrong as a prospect evaluation. Doesn't mean he'll be a star in fantasy, but he's going to be a good player.
No, I agree. I like that as a floor QB. There's a lot of there's a lot of fun floor QBs here right now. I don't want to call out names because, again, John, you're probably looking at a couple.
Hey, if I get sniped, I get sniped. But go ahead. Anyone you want, Jared. It's fine.
I mean, Rocco Beck there in the 17th round, I think is a nice floor quarterback. He'll see some touchdown regression compared to what he had last year, but I still think he'll end up easily top 40 quarterbacks for you. A guy like Carson Beck at Miami, if he starts the whole year for that Miami system, that's going to be a solid floor right there.
Yes.
Trying to think of any
Giovanni
other
Lopez.
guys. By the way, real quick, love the tight ends that are coming off in this round. Blake Bosma there at Western Michigan. What a great pick by Justin Nottingham there to pair with Gillenborg. You got two tight ends that are likely the leading targets for their teams. I don't think you could really ask for anything better. I think that's what you got to shoot for at tight end. Seydou Traore is another one there I love from Mitch. A lot of great tight ends I love coming off in this range. Luke Reynolds is another one of my favorite there at Penn State. If you wait on tight end, there's some guys that can fall in this range.
Oh, I still have a third tight end. If I might get him. Like, he's still a guy I'm thinking. I don't have to get a third. Now, I will say this. I think this is a decent debate in the college fantasy football space. I like 3 tight ends in a best ball 30 team format. I do, because, man, there's going to be injuries. Yeah. Then you get bye weeks. And I will say this. If anytime I've had a best ball team and I was starting to get less than 3 points at the tight end position on a weekly basis, Jared, my team stunk.
Yep.
And if it's like last year, RJ Maryland got hurt after the second week, man, those teams just, yep. So it's so hard to do. You could get it. I agree, but I like to be a little bit more safe at the tight end position. I'm coming back up, so I'm looking at my roster.
Real quick before we get there, John, a quick question from Mitch here. He says he likes the dual position of Julian Gray for Liberty, and last we checked, it does sound like Julian Gray might be the RB1 there at Liberty. I think it's another fun dual position guy to go after in drafts. I've taken plenty of shares of him.
Yeah, I have tons of shares of Julian Gray. I love that. He was in my queue. I'm going to take another dual eligible player.
Okay.
And this is strictly only for full point PPR. And you might think I'm crazy, but he has the same quarterback, same coaching staff to my knowledge. Maybe they switched a coordinator, but I don't think they did. Eli Heinrich of Navy.
Okay.
He is a perfect PPR guy. And you know why I like him? Running back, wide receiver eligibility. Mm-hmm. And I was looking at the numbers preparing. I mean, we do mostly PPR, but we've done a lot of half-point PPR too lately. Last year, Heinrich had 59 targets, 39 receptions, 671 yards, and 6 touchdowns receiving, 444 yards rushing. And if you watch Navy, and I might be the only sicko who does, he is so wide open, Jared. When they scheme for him, there is not a player in the screen when they go to Eli Heinrich out of the backfield. So I like him in PPR.
Mm-hmm. No, again, that's a fun one. And there's a couple other guys as well. Again, teasing tomorrow's CTN and everything, I throw out the idea of Javen Jacobs at Utah State. Right, I think he's a last-round guy that you could take a shot on. He's got wide receiver, running back dual eligibility. He followed Bronco Mendenhall from New Mexico over to Utah State. Let me ask you, John, who is Bryson Barnes throwing to outside of tight end Brock Lane?
Well, I agree. It's funny because I think you like Bryson Barnes a ton, right?
I do love Bryson Barnes.
Okay.
I have zero clue who he's throwing to at the wide receiver position.
Well, neither do I. So that's my only concern. But in general, I will say that Mendenhall has found wide receivers in the past, right?
Oh, yeah.
So he should be able to find one that will be beneficial to you. But I like that as a value, yes. I think you're right.
Javen Jacobs has a shot at being the RB1 for that system. Yes. I know they bring in Miles Davis from BYU, and I'm not gonna shoo him away or anything like that. But I think Jacobs following Mendenhall, knowing that system, gives him a little bit of a potential leg up there. And again, with that wide receiver eligibility, dude caught 22 balls last year as the running back 2 for that system. If he's RB1 and with no other receivers to throw to, dude could hit 50 targets.
Oh yeah, there's look at I love PPR. I mean, I know some people are I just think it gives you value when you literally look at the numbers and the systems, right?
Oh, yeah.
Navy is throwing the ball more than they have in the past. And if you watch Navy, they throw the ball to these guys. And you're right. Someone's going to catch a lot of passes at Utah State, right? Or no, where's he now? Why am I going blank?
No, Utah State, you're correct.
Yeah, Utah State. My pick is up, so I'm thinking, you know what? I'm going to go for another sneaky stack, and it's going to blow up in my face, or I'm happy. Eli Holstein, I didn't want to draft him in this draft, but here he is, round 19. He was so good the first half of the year. So good. I'm taking Eli Holstein to go with Kenny Johnson.
No, again, if health is on his side, he could be phenomenal for CFF. I'm trying to find him in my data from last year because he was. Let me do the Control F and all that. Holstein. Nope. Wait, I spell it correctly? There you go. Okay, yeah, he finished as wide receiver 60 or his quarterback 63, but through 7 weeks he was a top 12 quarterback. Right? Again, then things just fell apart towards the end. Again, if health is on his side this year, he absolutely has a huge upside. Go ahead and get him there.
I mean, I was drafting him way too early looking back earlier in the process.
Oh, people are out on him.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, I'm like, why draft him in round 11 when I can get him in round 17? So, like, guys I keep track of to see what ADP and what other people, just because I'm not drafting him anymore round 11, doesn't mean I don't like him. I'm going to try to find value in him.
Yeah. A couple comments in the chat from RJ saying Coy Eakin feeling like a steal here. Coy Eakin coming off in the 18th round. Great pick. We talked Caleb Douglas earlier. John, you took him, 6th round?
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's too big of a gap between those two. I think there's a chance that they even out in targets throughout the year. Go ahead.
I had Eakin in my queue, and I was debating where the value of 2 Texas Tech wide receivers are going to be.
I mean, fair enough. And then he also comments on the Haas Haney pick there in the 19th round. Yeah, Haney was a fun upside play early on in the offseason if he won that job, because if he starts wherever he goes, he's basically locked in for 25 points per game just because of his skill set. Problem is, it does sound like with recent news that Zane Flores is currently winning that job for Oklahoma State. So I do think we have to back off the Haas Haney hype. If you believe in him, take him round 30. And if somebody else takes him ahead of you, let them take on that risk, is my advice.
I agree with you on that one, absolutely. So we're starting the back third now.
Back third, last 10 rounds. A great time to remind everybody that if you're listening and haven't hit that like button already, make sure you go ahead and do that. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share this with your friends. We're having a great time. Todd in the chat says W stream. I agree. This is, as the kids say, a W stream, John.
Oh, you have no idea how much fun I'm having right now. It's been going so fast, but it's great. It's like a rush. It's like the best natural rush. But yeah, we have great people in the chat. You're asking good questions. And I'm trying to, if you notice me moving around, I got my list. I got the draft board. I'm trying to figure out where's my positions I need. So I'm very happy. And the longer I play best ball, the more I'm paying attention to bye weeks at quarterback and tight end. I don't do it at all at wide receiver and running back. I just literally, it's too much mind space. But I'm very interested at quarterback and tight end. And my quarterbacks only have 1 week they are in conflict with the 4 of each other, if that makes sense. All right. I can't believe this running back's right here. I'm going to take him. Braylon Russell. He sits around and sits around. Man, I get it. Taylon Green is the offense. I get it. But Braylon Russell was good last year when given the opportunity as a true freshman. I think he's the best running back on the team, looking at the depth chart and how Arkansas looks. And maybe he gets some touchdowns to save Taylon Green at the goal line.
Yeah, Russell was a guy that I was kind of shocked when I plugged him into my projections that he didn't come out better than I thought. I got him as RB 104 right now, which probably sounds like
whoa, in projections.
Yeah, well, projections and also again in my rankings, so they are heavily influenced by that. A lot of it has to do with the fact that the average or the top running back for Bobby Petrino the last couple of years has averaged 150 touches and 15 targets. Right,
Okay.
so that caps his ceiling in my projections. Now, do I think Russell could break that? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jaquindon Jackson was on his way to doing so last year. Right, so maybe that is a shift in the system here. But for right now, I'm a little off of Russell. I've been trading him away in Dynasty and stuff like that because I'm just like, okay, clearly there's a break between where my numbers have him compared to where other people have him right now. I'm going to see what kind of value I get out of that right now.
Yeah, I think what did I get? Round 20?
Yeah, round 20 is fine.
I think that's pretty fair value. I'm okay with that. I was looking at him and I'm like, man, yeah, I'll take you here. I mean, it's a tough conference. I get the SEC. I don't think Arkansas, they're not predicted for the upper half, are they?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either. So game script could go away from him. I get all that. But he's my fifth or sixth running back. I'm okay with that.
I mean, if they are going to be in the bottom half of the league and everything, it could end up being that they just run the ball to run out the clock on some of these games to just get out.
That could be true. You're right.
Let's see. Anywhere else? I'm just trying to double check the chat, make sure I'm not missing any comments or anything like that. Mitch likes the Trey Cooley pick. He likes the Daquan Finn pick. I think those are both fun picks here later on in the draft. I had another thought that I wanted to discuss, and now I've completely lost it.
I think DeAndre Moore for Carp is a nice value late. I mean, 19th round.
Yeah.
He's probably going to have 2 or 3 huge games for the Longhorns.
Oh, 100%.
So I do like that value there. He's a type of the guy I like in best ball.
He feels like a very safe floor option for that Texas offense.
Yes.
I love him way more than where Emmett Mosley continues to go. I think there's a better shot that Emmett Mosley might not even start for Texas than him being the wide receiver 1, which is what people are drafting him as right now. Right? They're putting him in the same round as Ryan Wingo. Go ahead.
Oh, DJ Lagway, someone got my little heartthrob. I was hoping to get him as I love DJ Lagway. I think he's being... Look, I know there's risk. I get it. He hasn't played. But, man, I like the value of DJ Lagway a ton. Now, Jared, I've read that he's going to be the starter. I want to see... I haven't heard enough people talk about him, but I'll tell you this. A Dynasty draft expert who I respect mentioned him as an NFL prospect. Outside. Harry Stewart of Virginia Tech. I'm going to take him this late. I'm hearing good things about him for the Hokies. He's in a decent system. He should have a lot of carries. What do you think of Stewart in the 21st round here?
Again, we're in the range where if you believe in a guy, go ahead and take him. Again, every value, like, let's be real, the value of a 20th round pick versus a 30th round pick is not going to be that much different. There are a couple of things, and Mitch brings it up in the past. One, this is a classic big fish, small pond transfer, right?
That's true.
He is going from the MAC, which is probably the lowest of the G5 conferences in terms of competition level, up to the ACC, which isn't like, it's not like he's going to Big Ten SEC or anything like that, right? But it's still a pretty big jump there.
You're right.
To the beat report, which, not gonna pretend like they're ever wrong or anything or pretend like they're always right or anything like that, but they have been pretty consistent across multiple sources that there's not a Bashal Tutin in this backfield, even with Stewart coming in, right? It's most likely going to be committee this year. Now, I agree with you. The system has shown that they're willing to ride with one guy. If Stewart comes in and just blows them out of the water for, fall camp, things could change very, very quickly. But for right now, I'm kind of agreeing with the beat and everything that there's just not a guy here that I love coming out of this backfield.
I think it's a high risk, high reward.
Agreed. Again, he could still end up being the lead back of that committee, right? And that still could have some big weeks, right, in a best ball format. But for like a redraft, I don't think I could do it.
I'll say this. Most of my leagues, I do a lot of best ball. So But if I'm in a redraft, I don't think most of my leagues are over 20 or 21 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I'm looking at the board right now, anyone I'm on borderline drafting probably since round 19, maybe, right? Like just the way a normal draft. I know most are probably best ball players viewing this, but if you're in a season-long league also with a 19 or 21 round draft, we're now at the point where these are players we might like. I'm usually trying to hit the home run, trying to go for a guy with ceiling.
I mean, yeah, that's what you got to do in a best ball format. Speaking of which, a fun, I guess, kind of upside play here, and Mitch kind of pointed out, and I wanted to comment on it, but before we got too far away with it, but Tom double tapped the Arizona running back room here. I'm pretty in on Kendrick Riscano as the RB1 there for Arizona. Again, I'm not in on Ishmael Mahdi. I think, again, another classic big fish, small pond, or excuse me, small fish, big pond kind of deal. I think Riscano being a former blue chip running back, the clear RB2 for Arizona last year behind, why am I blanking on his name? Conley, Quali Conley, right?
Oh, okay.
Being the clear RB2 behind him there. I think that Riscano is in for a decent workload there. In addition to the fact that Arizona might not have the passing game that we come to expect from them, right? Ted McMillan's gone. Who's stepping up in that wide receiver room? I talked about Chris Hunter on last week's CTN episode as like a potential sleeper option. Yeah, because he's taken over that Ted McMillan role, right? But he's been highly inefficient. I think he's way worse.
I knew Malachi Fields. Oh, I missed him in my
But anyway,
I am Malachi higher than Great House. I didn't see that for some reason. Oh well, nice pick, Carp.
But anyway, as I was saying with Riscano, right? Like Chris Hunter, he's taken over that outside role for Arizona, which is typically where you've seen CFF relevant guys. But we've also seen with Brett Brennan, they don't have a guy. They will go this committee or the wide receiver by committee approach, and I think that opens up the for a lot more running the ball for Arizona, right? And I think that's where Riscano can definitely outperform his ADP right now.
I agree with you in Arizona because I'm very worried about the big fish in a what is it?
Small fish, big pond is the bad one.
Yes, and I think that's the Arizona backfield, right?
Yeah. Versus like Riscano, former blue chip, transferring away from the SEC to the Big 12 here. I think he has a bit better of an opportunity here. I
agree with you. And I don't think I've drafted any Arizona running backs. I think I'm pretty low. I'm just worried about the whole team. Have you drafted Fafita?
No.
Neither have I.
He's at the bottom of my rankings for quarterbacks.
I actually think I've gone full 30-round drafts and Fafita isn't even picked. I think that's how nuts it can be.
All right, let's see what we got here. Mitch is asking a couple questions. Says, what's the latest at quarterback for Liberty? I'd be shocked if it wasn't Ethan Vasco. Ethan Vasco transferring, following Jamie Chadwell from Coastal Carolina to Liberty after a year with Salter out of the way. Like, I don't really see it being anybody other than Vasco. If it isn't, he's again 22 or 22nd round pick there. You're good. Love the Elijah Green pick, Tom. And then his other question was, what's the latest on the Tennessee backfield? I've talked about this recently on one of these streams, so I won't go too deep into it. But basically, I'm in on Deshaun Bishop at value right now. I don't think any of them are going to be Dylan Sampson, but I think Deshaun Bishop is currently in the lead to be that lead back of their split backfield. And if he can get me 65-70% of what Dylan Sampson was last year, you're still looking at a really good running back for CFF. What about you, John? Oh, you're on the clock. What do you got?
Yeah. Ooh, I can't believe this man's available. Yeah, I think I got to take him. Derek McFall, SMU.
Mm-hmm.
He might be the reports out of the spring were marvelous on McFall. He's only a wide receiver on this, but I got a feeling he might get some carries out of the backfield like Brashard Smith. So I like him here. Too bad he doesn't have dual eligibility. But I've gotten a bunch of McFall late in drafts recently.
Yeah, definitely somebody to keep an eye on. That whole backfield is something to keep an eye on, right? Because I like TJ Harden. I think a lot of people are off of him, but he was part of a really bad situation the last 2 years
That's
at
true.
UCLA, right? Like between Chip Kelly just kind of full quitting on the team the year before, and then last year was the first year. Brett Bielema calling plays. He didn't last a single year, which, boy, talk about a fall from grace for Brett Bielema since his time as offensive coordinator for Kansas City to now. I don't even know if he's employed anymore at the college level. Like I think if anything, he's dropped down to the high school level. I'll have to look that up here in a second. But
that's a good question. I don't know where he is.
I think Harden is the biggest wild card of that SMU backfield. Otherwise, guys like Dedrick McFall or Chris Johnson could absolutely be in for a big year. Love the Montgomery pick as well from Kane there. I bet he's the guy that I talk about on tomorrow's CTN episode as well.
Oh, now I'm trying to think. The big fullback guy is gone, right? Who is the guy? Rashad Harris?
Yeah, Rajay Harris. Yes,
Rajay Harris is gone, right?
Yes, he is gone.
So there is opportunity in that backfield. Ooh, Steve Angeli. That's a nice little pick right there this late.
Also, I just looked it up. Eric Bieniemy is now the running backs coach for the Chicago Bears. So
he's back in the NFL.
Back to the NFL after getting fired at the college level. So
what a journey he's been on, huh? Super Bowl champs, all this. Got fired at college. Yeah,
well, being talked about as like one of the best head coaching candidates, and then never getting an NFL coaching job, and then
I know
dropping down to the college ranks, and now he's a position coach. Like, boy, woof.
I hope he made some money with the Chiefs as the offense coordinator.
For sure. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, and hey, Jared, this is how old I am, and I'm sure Mitch knows this because he's in Colorado. Eric Bieniemy at Colorado is one hell of a football player in the 1990s. Oh my God, was he good?
RJ asks, do y'all lean Tawi Walker or Evan Pryor for the Cincinnati RB1 job? Where do they both rank for y'all? So RJ, I treat them both the same in my projections, and because of that, Pryor does come out ahead because he's had more efficiency than Walker in the past. So technically my rankings say Pryor higher, but boy, I feel like Cincinnati doesn't bring in a guy like Tawi Walker who started at two different programs the last 2 years and doesn't make him the starter. They're both going late enough that like I'm personally okay with grabbing both and seeing what happens. But I think it's a split backfield for the most part. What do you think, Sean?
I think it's a split backfield, but I have taken Walker if I've gone into and there's value. I mean, I've just targeted Walker in general. Mm-hmm. I think let's say it's a split committee, but I think Walker might be on the positive side of the 55-60 touch split. So I tend to lean on that. But if it was 52-48, it would not surprise me.
No, definitely agree. All right.
So I did take a third tight end.
You did take a third tight end. You took Houston Thomas out of UTSA. One of the two guys that they'll probably be throwing to there. What do you like about Thomas over a guy like, I think it was Overmeyer is the other one, Patrick Overmeyer?
Yes. When I watched the Roadrunners last year, Hunter Thomas impressed me. I like Owen McCowan. I think Hunter Thomas is a very high floor. He doesn't have a great ceiling. Last year, he had 470 yards. I was shocked by this. He averaged 13.8 yards per reception for a tight end. That's impressive. That's impressive. And I'm looking in a best ball environment. Let me look at the game logs here. He had a 22.4, a 19.2, and a 12.3. I think with another year of McGowan quarterback in that system, and I think he's just a real nice floor.
No, yeah, great pick here late and everything. A lot of good tight ends in this range. I like Eli Raridan.
Yes.
Over at Notre Dame. Again, that's just a pure system play, but Raridan's been pretty solid when he's given a chance. This is the year that Michael Trigg finally breaks out. I'm not going to say so, but also I'm hoping so.
You know what? Isn't it amazing how you remember some players for certain reasons? Like, how many of us were into Michael Trigg, and he's never, like, he hasn't hit that ceiling or even the production, and now he's a Baylor, and I'm always staring at him. Do I pull the trigger on Trigg? And I never do. I just can't do it.
John, I don't know if you noticed, but Tom did take your your handcuff there with Jordan Marshall at Michigan.
Oh, he did. Let me look. Oh, I forgot about Jordan. Oh, you're right. He just that's where I'm not paying. But it's all right. This is for the viewers and for the enjoy. I mean, I want to win.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but this is for the viewers, for you, and just to enjoy the draft. Let me see. I'm up right now.
While you're doing that, John, I want to comment on Tom's next pick after that with T. Mims there at Southern Miss. Southern Miss, ooh, that's a system flying under the radar right now. John, off the top of your head, do you know who the offensive coordinator at Southern Miss is this year?
I should, but I don't. So tell me, because I don't want to lie. I don't know.
A little CFF favorite named Blake Anderson.
Ooh, how did he get there? I gotta make my pick. How did he get there?
Well, he's offensive coordinator there now under Charles Huff, and Huff has been trying to move more towards an air raid system, which Blake Anderson will absolutely bring. We know Blake Anderson will feature a wide receiver 1. That is a entire system that if you've got a guy that you kind of like there, now let me be very clear. We have 0 beat reports out of Southern Miss because we have 0 reports out of Southern Miss. So, let's be very clear. There is no actual basis behind anybody's pick in that wide receiver room because there's a lot of options. You got T. Mills there, who's kind of a veteran of the Southern Miss program, but Charles Huff brings guys in from Marshall, guys like Elijah Metcalf, guys like Tychon Chapman. You also have guys coming over from Blake Anderson's time at Utah State, right? Miles Davis, their former deep threat at Utah State, will be there at Southern Miss. And there's another guy I remember that just transferred in over from Utah State as well. And so there's a lot of options there. But if you got a feel on a guy there, take the shot on that system late rounds and everything like that, because you could end up with a top 10, 15 wide receiver.
If Blake Anderson's offense finds the quarterback that he needs, and if the head coach allows him to fully implement it, it could be gold if you hit I bet you 2 of their wide receivers would be good in that scenario.
Yeah. I would agree. I mean, they got Braylon Braxton there. Again, I think that's a good enough quarterback to get that system rolling in year 1. They play in the Sun Belt. We're not asking them to get started here in, the Big 12, Big 10, or SEC, right? They should be able to get that system going pretty easy.
So, Jared, quick question for you. 30-player roster build.
Yeah.
Are you going 5, 6, or 7 quarterbacks in general?
I usually average around 6.
Okay.
So my usual build is six quarterbacks. I'm trying to move more towards 3 tight end this year. In the past, I've done 4, but I think I'm more okay with 3 this year. 4 if I see a guy that I really like Eli Raridan, the last round of the draft, I'm like, yeah, I'll take that value, right?
Yeah.
And then running back, wide receiver is 10, 11 guys there.
That I agree with the 3 tight ends. I mean, I think I've done it in every draft. The quarterbacks, I think I'm going to go 6 here. No, 5. I might try 5 because I went so heavy early, right? I do think I've got 4 right now. I got to get a 5th. So then I would have to see what the board is. So I'm up. I like 6 in general because I usually want to go 2 superstars, but I have done it. I like to see how the roster comes out. So, you know what? I can't. Oh my God, it sounds dirty saying this, but I'm going to go Luke Altmaier. Man, he has some crazy games up at Illinois. So talk about a high floor guy. I mean, I was looking at the numbers. He threw for we're 22 touchdowns. He rushed for 4. And what were games? He had 35 in one game, 41 in another game, 29 in one, 27 in another.
He's
wide variance. I mean, he's a nightmare in a redraft. But in a best ball, I think Luke Altmaier's a weird kind of nothing, cost you nothing player.
By the way, Carp, you took Claire there, but that's not Max Claire. That's his brother there at Purdue.
Oh,
I don't know if that's who you meant to take there. maybe you know something I don't, and maybe he is the starting tight end for Purdue this year, and you want to take the shot on that. That's totally fine. I just want to make sure you're drafting the guy that you think you are. Tommy says, didn't Mims transfer to Texas State? Not that I know of, but let me take a look.
Oh.
Let me see if that's true.
Announced his commitment to Texas State.
Oh yeah, he did. Look at that. Yeah, he would be there. Another slot guy for Texas State. Oh joy.
And I would assume they're all kind of undersized.
I mean, again, they got Bo Sparks there in the slot. Again, Mims is undersized. He's 5'9", 175 and everything. Yeah. Again, yeah, take your shot, but like I actually like him less at Texas State than I do at Southern Miss, because again, at Southern Miss he'd at least be a program veteran that would put him in a really good spot. Versus, I think Texas State's got a guy in Bo Sparks there in the slot. Now they've run a lot of 4 wide receiver sets, so we'll see how that goes, but I like some of the wide receiver value here. Deuce Robinson at Florida State with Gus Malzahn's top outside wide receiver. Love it. Javon Tracy taking a shot on the PJ Fleck, wide receiver 1 there. Omega Blake, hyper efficient at the AAC level last year. We saw Andrew Armstrong get 100 targets on the outside last year. Blake looks like he'll slide into that. Love some of these wide receiver picks coming off the board here.
So I've read, I'm reading interesting things about him. Do I double dip here? Let me see one thing while I'm checking something out, because I do think he's gone. You know what? This Draylon Miller at Colorado, he's kind of getting a little, I know I took Joseph Williams earlier.
John, so there are 2 Draylon Millers in.
Oh.
So he got taken back in the 18th round or 22nd round. Who do you want to replace him with?
Oh, okay. Then I'll just keep it simple. Give me Carlos Hernandez, Wake Forest. He's in my queue.
Oh, dang. He's still here in the 27th round. That's crazy.
I
didn't realize he was still going. I didn't realize he was still on the board.
I'm glad you mentioned it. So maybe I've been looking at him forever in my queue. I thought maybe there's something I'm missing. So I kept bypassing him.
All right. And then Ra Thomas, again, another late round wide receiver value that I like. Again, a SEC wide receiver transferring down to Troy, who's desperately in need of a top outside wide receiver after Devontae Ross leaves last year. I think Thomas has huge upside.
Oh, I agree. I like that. I'm just looking to see where my roster is. I'm sorry, everyone.
No, you're totally good. We're flying through this draft. I just realized because we're in the last 4 rounds here.
Yeah, is it me or is this draft moving quick?
Oh, it's moving quick because we're
okay.
Normally these streams go about 2.5 hours. Oh yeah, average pick time is 17 seconds. Y'all are cooking tonight. Good Lord.
Is it Chris K who would call us savages? Is that you guys are a bunch of savages?
Bunch of savages. Just Chris Moxley absolutely would. Because Mox is big on let people take their time, and I'm like, nah.
Nope, not in this draft.
Not in this draft. You get 1 minute per pick, and these guys are we know exactly who we want. 17 seconds average pick time here. Because again, we're not even at 2 hours on this stream. We're almost done with this draft. Normally we're pushing about 2.5 hours. So might be able to go to bed early tonight, John.
Oh, hey, it's been a blast so far. Now I gotta think. I got 3 more picks. Ooh, Jake Retzlaff. He was in my queue.
I'm staying away from that drama.
It's not good. It's not good.
Not great.
Not great. That's
Mitch,
all I'm going to say.
Shout out Mitch. Love the Michael Smith pick at South Carolina. That's an excellent late round tight end value.
Oh, yes. I think they're going to play him and Harbor on this field a lot with the quarterback. I think with Lenore Sellers, his dual threat ability, you go too big with the tight ends. You can do a lot of creativity near the goal line.
Absolutely.
I'm just looking at some guys here. He is someone I drafted late before. Now I'm looking to see who have I drafted late who might be interesting. He's sitting around. Okay. There's some players I like here. I mean, I'm not in love with, don't get me wrong. When I say I like, it's just, maybe with the right week, with the right start. I I do have to count what I have now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I'm going to take a look while you're doing that,
9,
see if there's any
10.
teams
Okay.
like I'm going to do as like an early like shout out team. Yeah, no, never mind. I'm not going to do that right now. Is that Mekhi Hughes in the second round? Oh, nice. Nice. I did not
I
like.
saw that, and we never said anything. That was a good. I love him in the second round.
I don't like him as a first round pick at all because I think again he's way more of a floor play than anything else.
Yeah,
but like that's not what I want in the first round. Like first round, I'm taking guys that'll win me the league. Right.
I agree with that. That I agree with in general.
Because like when I project out Mekhi Hughes, I currently have him as like RB 19, I think, off the top of my head. 17.
Okay.
RB 17. So like again, very solid floor. And I think again, I mentioned earlier, I think Oregon runs the ball more this year, so that could get him even higher. But even still, like you give that to me over a lot of the other guys that go in the first round for running backs. Like I'll take a lot of those guys ahead of them. Love the Deshaun Ford pick there, Dylan. Well done. What do you got, John?
So I think I need more receivers than I need running backs because of the way I drafted. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to think down the stretch here. Do I want to get 2 wide receivers, which I think is the better roster build? So I'm going to go Rashid Williams, Washington. I think he's a very high variance player. And I'm okay round 28, 28, taking a high variance player.
See, for me, right, like also Carp, how many? Carp didn't take tight end until the very end.
Yeah, I just noticed that 3 straight.
I saw 3 straight, and I was just like, huh? Like, did he take one before? Nope. The Rashid Williams thing is very interesting, right? I think I mentioned this with Josh last week because I think he actually took Rashid as well, where Denzel Boston was out for a good chunk of the spring, right? Out of like precaution. Amari Evans, who is projected to be the other outside guy for Washington this year, was also out.
Yeah.
Rashid Williams comes in. He looks great throughout the entirety of spring. And so part of me now wonders, how do they shift that wide receiver room around? Because we know Boston's going to be a beast when he comes back in the fall, right? He'll be wide receiver 1 most likely. But that slot position where Giles Jackson was hanging out last year is also very, very profitable for CFF, right? Because in addition to Giles Jackson, Jacob Cowling was a beast in that slot position for Jed Fish at Arizona for 2 years straight. So if Rashid Williams can somehow slide into that slot position ahead of a guy like Kevin Green, who's really not a talent play at all, it would be totally system. I think Williams, if he slides into that slot role, could be absolutely huge for CFF. Or if he pushes Amari Evans inside, that could be interesting. That'll be something I'll pay attention to in the fall.
I agree. To me, it's more like a fall. But I think at this point, we're in June 22nd. I think it's a reasonable value at this point, this risk.
No, I agree. Again, take a shot on a guy that's had a ton of spring buzz. Why not?
I was wondering when Gio Lopez would go off the board.
How are you reading the UNC situation, John? Because I have like a counter narrative that I think they'll end up being fine this year, because I don't know if it's Bill Belichick actually running the show there. Because Freddie Kitchens was the run game coordinator for UNC the last 2 years, right?
Yeah.
He's now the offensive coordinator. That's a key piece of continuity there that I think he kind of keeps things on track while Bill's dealing with whatever and all that.
Yeah, I'm going to put aside all that. I agree. That's like a whole nother thing. But I do say this. I think UNC is going to be very competitive. They're going to be very good on defense. Belichick's going to run circles around those offensive coordinators. Mm-hmm. His defense is going to be fast. The secondary is going to be coached up. They're going to destroy some young quarterbacks. Well, what does that tell me? You run the ball, you run the ball, you run the ball, you run the ball. Mm-hmm. It's Geis. Continuity.
Yep.
And Belichick's just going to run it. If he's up by 14, run the ball, son. I mean, and they're going to kill some people on defense. They are. Now, I can't believe I'm getting him. I don't even like him too much, but I'll take Dylan Raiola as my 6th quarterback in round 29.
I mean, there could be a huge jump for Raiola between last year and this year, given who his offensive coordinator is this year at Nebraska with, oh my God, I'm blanking on his name all of a sudden.
No, the guy from Houston and West Virginia.
Dana Holgerson.
Yes.
Dana Holgerson being, again, you guys can tell that I'm up past my bedtime. But yeah, Dana Holgerson being his offensive coordinator, yeah, fun upside pick there in the second to last round. And again, you got your floor QBs, John. I think between Mendoza, Holstein, Altmaier, and Raiola, like that'll provide you a safe enough floor if for whatever reason Lenoris and Klubnik fall through for whatever reason.
Yeah, that's what I wasn't going to spend a lot on the backups, but I got 4 guys who are all legitimate starters heading into the season without a depth chart that I see. I mean, obviously one of them might have a player, freshman or sophomore, but no one that's obviously challenging. Maybe Holstein, I guess. Maybe. I mean, I know they brought in the kid. Didn't they bring in a young man from a lower level?
Yeah, they brought in I forget his name, but he used to play for Cade Bell back at the FCS level. And so, like, he's familiar with that offense, and I'm like, okay, that is a little concerning. But also, Holstein's a former 4-star quarterback.
From Alabama.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's going to get every chance to win the job if he's healthy.
Exactly. 100%.
And you know what? I will say this, Jared. I'm excited for Belichick. Just because he is such a great football mind.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fascinating to see how it translates on the field. I don't care about the other stuff. How it translates on the field for the Tar Heels.
No, agreed 100%. I think the only thing that people kind of worry about is like how much does that impact what's on the field. Right.
I agree. But I'm just looking at football only. I'm fascinated by him.
Mitch, you're a man after my own heart with a couple of these last picks. Connor Weigman at Houston. Given what Slade Nagel and oh my God, oh my God, what's his name? The head coach at Houston.
The new head coach.
Yes.
Oh my God.
From Tulane.
Yes. Oh.
Anyway,
God.
given what they were able to do with Michael Pratt, like Connor
sorry.
Weigman should be great at Houston. I think that he's set up for success there. And then Kirby Voorhees, Fritz, that's it, Willie Fritz.
Yes.
Kirby Voorhees, a great last round pick there at Washington State. They're gonna have a very efficient run game, and I think Voorhees, if Angel Johnson does not do well there or does not recover from his injury well, I think Voorhees could be in for a great year. Joe R. Paisley. I thought I was the only person on this planet that had PJ Johnson ranked there at New Mexico State. But you sly dog. You sly dog. A lot of people are going after Tyler King now because he was mentioned on the G5 podcast. But I say that man is a slot. And David Youse has loved his outside wide receivers. And I think PJ Johnson currently has the best shot at it. So we'll see. But
I love that type of pick this late.
Yeah, just take the shot on the system.
Just take a shot. I have a guy, I don't know if he's going to stay, but I think he's the number 1 wide receiver on his team.
Ooh.
Terrible offense. Not in love with it, but he's a number 1. I'll see if he's there.
Is it Cade Harris out of Air Force?
I'm going to take him.
Cade Harris out of Air Force?
No, I'm not even willing to go the triple option wide receiver.
Listen, I was just throwing it out there.
I know. All right. I mean, I think, am I wrong? Lewis Bond is the number 1 guy at Boston College, right?
Yeah. People like Reed Harris, but
I mean, he's had 600 yards back-to-back years. We know O'Brien is an old school, boring coach, right? He wants a quarterback in the pocket. He's going to throw it to his receivers. I don't know. I'll take him in round 30.
Yeah, I mean, Lonergan's going to fit that system way more than what Thomas Castellanos did last year. I agree. Target some of the receiving options. A late-round tight end that I know Ethan Sowers likes and I kind of like is Ty Lockwood. Former 4-star tight end, was at Alabama, has followed Lonergan, apparently good friends with Lonergan, now to Boston College. So given the history that Boston College has had at tight ends, definitely something to keep an eye out for.
So we had Max Klein sat around. Wow. But I get it. His production wasn't great for Michigan. But he should be the guy, right?
Apparently, Hogan Hansen's the guy that people are looking at Michigan. That's who I got ranked higher. And I know that's what Ethan and Chris K have him ranked higher as well. And given that Chris K is pretty involved with Michigan, I tend to trust his opinions on those evaluations.
Now, Dynasty Pros is Tom, right?
Yes.
So he drafted the 2 tight ends, Jolly and Stowers.
Yes.
So he waited till the very to get his third. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah, take the shot. All right, Rand finishes us up. Our Mr. Relevant, my man, Connor Harrell. Love it. Great job, y'all. Great draft all around.
Your guy in Charlotte.
Exactly, my boy. Anyway, you made me happy there, Brandon. All right, y'all. We finished the draft and everything like that. Yeah, John, I will ask you. You still got your rankings in front of you.
Yeah.
What I like to do at the end of each draft is talk about some players that you're surprised didn't come off the board. We'll start with quarterbacks.
Drew Allard did not come off the board, right?
I thought I saw him. Yeah, 28th round.
Oh, sorry. We already talked about Noah Fafita. He's almost gone. Aiden Childs did not go, correct?
Yep.
And those are did Dwayne Coleman of Army go?
I do not believe so. No, he was off the board.
He was, okay. I like that pick. I don't know how I missed it. Just the system, if he works out in the system, that's a nice pick.
No, agreed. Gunnar Stockton not coming off the board. Once again, I know people are a little hesitant with Mike Bobo and everything, but you got a dual threat quarterback, and as a pure pocket passer, Carson Beck was able to finish as a top 30 quarterback for CFF last year. He's got
I'm looking. How about Miller Moss?
Yeah, I think a solid floor play, I would say.
Yeah, floor play. I would say Miller Moss and Aiden Childs. I'm a little surprised. Just their starters,
Running backs. I know we're kind of surprised, or we're not entirely sure what to do with Oklahoma State's backfield right now, but Freddie Brock not coming off in this draft is kind of surprising to me. Again, not really a lot of guys I'm super surprised by here.
Now, is Devon Booth, is he completely out of Mississippi State? Why?
No, he's got one more year. I think people are worried about Fluff Bothwell.
Because he's been 805, 759 yards rush. I agree. I guess that's a concern. But he scored 9 touchdowns last year. I don't know. He seems like a guy that's interested in this, that wasn't drafted.
I agree, 100%. Outside of that, I'm looking at, again, I don't have my personal rankings in this league because it won't let me because I'm just commissioner. But yeah, not really a lot of guys that I'm super surprised still on the board here. What about wide receiver? Who do we got here? What about you, John?
Oh, my first guy, I've had him in the queue, but I always like one UConn player. Skylar Bell didn't go.
Oh, yeah, great call out.
But I already had taken Cam Edwards. I like Cam Edwards and the run game more, obviously. But I think Skylar Bell's worth a late round flyer. So I think he's pretty interesting. Let me see. I thought I saw one other guy. Is Victor Snow's coming back, right? At Buffalo?
Yep, good call. Yeah.
So I think he's interesting. I would say those two looking quickly.
My looking quickly, once again, I'm gonna fight for my boy Anthony Evans going to Mississippi State following his favorite coach, Jeff Lebby. It was between Lebby and Georgia when Evans was coming out of high school. He's got a really good connection with Lebby. He'll likely play in that slot position for Mississippi State, and that's what's given us Kevin Coleman, and the year before, that's what gave us Drake Stoops at Oklahoma. Yep. So I like Anthony Evans' late round pick there. You took Mike Matthews in the 14th round, John?
Yeah.
Chris Brazell, the former Tulane wide receiver, still undrafted.
Yeah, he probably should have been drafted. You're right.
Still on the board here towards the end. Jackson Harris at Hawaii. I'm surprised nobody took the shot there. He's been getting a lot of buzz. Trying to see anybody else really that I'm super shocked by. I don't think so. I would say, again,
No,
Skylar Bell is a great call-out. Oh, Miles
Yeah, I think
Butler at
we
Middle
did better.
Tennessee.
I think as a group, we did very well at the wide receiver and the running back in general room. Like, there's not a lot of pickings left.
Yeah. Miles Butler out of Middle Tennessee State's another one that I'll call out here. I think he should have been drafted at some point in this draft. And then I'm trying to think. Oh, Barian Brown, used to go top 10 rounds. Now just going undrafted apparently. So.
Oh my God, let's see, his ADP is 306. Wow,
That's crazy. I don't think I've ever seen him go that late. I've usually seen him go a lot higher.
I haven't. I mean, he was going real. Am I wrong? Wasn't he going real early, like in March?
Real early, and I don't blame people for taking shots on the LSU wide receiver room. They're going to throw for 4,000 yards.
They are. There's going to be two good players at the wide receiver / tight end at LSU. You can't have a 4,000-yard quarterback if someone's not catching the ball.
Exactly. Mitch says wide receiver by committee. I mean, I don't necessarily disagree, Mitch, but again, if you have a 4,000-yard quarterback, and that's what a lot of people are kind of expecting Nussmeier to be this year, you're going to have a wide receiver fall into 1,000 yards, most likely. Again, it falls where it does the rest of the way, but I think at least one guy will hit 1,000 yards when you're throwing 5. I mean, that's what happened with Syracuse last year. Basically, They just chucked it so much. They had two guys break that 1,000-yard mark.
Hey, and in a best ball format, Jared, we don't have to predict who's going to get the big plays at LSU on a weekly. I agree. Redraft, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
But for best ball, it's not so bad.
Tight end. I don't normally talk tight end for this segment at the end, but I got to call out my boy Oscar Delp not coming off the board.
Oh, I was going to ask you about him.
Oscar Delp, nor Less Than Lucky, I don't think came off the board in this one, so neither Georgia tight ends coming off the board. And then my boy Rocky Beers. Rocky Beers not coming off in this draft. You guys are breaking my hearts over here.
And didn't you just mention Hogan Hansen at Michigan?
Yeah, Hogan Hansen. Yeah, surprised he didn't come off the board either.
Nope.
I thought he had already. Garrett Oakley at Kansas State as well. John, if I told you this time last year that there would be no Iowa tight ends being drafted in CFF leagues, would you have believed me?
Oh my God. Who? I would not have believed you. And you know what? I'm writing my top 12 tight ends, and there isn't an Iowa tight end in the top 12. Wow, I didn't put 2 and 2 together. Yeah. But yeah, it's shot. You're right. That's absolutely crazy, dude.
Yeah, no, that's just fun. Now, granted, I'm not a big fan of Ostrenja, who is apparently going to be the tight end at Iowa. He's very much more of a blocker rather than a full-on receiving threat. So I understand why we're not drafting Iowa tight ends super high this year. Because Gavin Hoffman, who went to Missouri, was very much more of that receiving type. And so if he was still around, he'd be a guy that I'd be pretty in on. But Ostrenja, if you look at his stats, he's very inefficient. So I'm good. I'm all good. So, all right, John. Let's see. We're coming up right at about 2 hours here. But real quick, again, outside of your own team, John, are there any teams that really stand out to you as ones that you really like?
Well, I do like Mitch's team. We talked about it a lot at the number 12 spot, especially waiting on the quarterbacks. I think he got a very nice quartet. And the other one I think is very interesting is Carp. Where did he draft out of the 4 hole? Mm-hmm. I like Dylan Edwards a ton. I'm all in love with Cam Coleman. And when you get to me, obviously I like Klubnik and Sellers better. But when you're telling me you can get Nussmeier and McCown, I personally have Sellers and Klubnik higher, but that's not that far off. And if you told me at the end of the year Nussmeier and McCown would outscore Sellers and Klubnik, I would not be shocked.
Mm-hmm. No, I wouldn't be shocked either. My guy that I'll throw out here as my favorite team, I think here, it has to be Devi Warehouse. Again, great value there with Mekhi Hughes compared to where he's been going. This is a build that I would make. Zach Palmer-Smith probably a little too early for me there, given the fact that, again, I'm a big believer in Deshaun Ford, but just insert other running back in this range. So, guys that came off in this range, you've seen Willis, Dalen Smothers, Kyson Brown. Insert any of those guys into the slot. I feel good about that. Kevin Coleman, great pick there at 7-7. Eugene Wilson, he's been falling a little bit recently. I'm kind of surprised by that. I love this team that Debbie Warehouse put together. He does my strategy of waiting on quarterback, got two really nice guys there, and then took his shots later on. I think he put together a really, really nice team.
I like Maiyava and Hoover. They're very strong for rounds 10 and 11.
Yeah,
very strong.
You won't get guys like that every time in rounds 10 and 11, but for this, it really worked out for Greg there.
Yes.
So, alrighty, John. I appreciate it, man. Appreciate all of you guys in the chat. Great lively chat tonight. Lots of great questions here. Appreciate you guys hitting the like button, hitting the subscribe button. We're going to continue on our march to 1,000 subscribers by the start of the season. Really looking forward to reaching that goal. But again, appreciate all of you guys tuning in for tonight. John, you have been awesome. Before we get out of here, though, John, what are you working on as we get ready for the college fantasy season?
Well, I'm still writing crazy on my player profiles for Fantrax. Tight ends are coming out hopefully by midweek. But I do have a surprise I'm slamming on July 1st. I can't let the cat out of the bag. Jared knows because Jared's been kind enough to work with me on the project. But
I
on July 4th,
y'all don't know.
if you go to my Twitter, Blue Sky pages on July 1st, and I get up pretty early, there should be a pretty big surprise that I'll be sharing with everyone on July 1st.
It is a ton of fun. You guys are going to absolutely love it. It is going to be a great thing for the CFF community. Ton of fun headed your way. John, appreciate you so much, brother. Love having you on. You're always a blast to have on. And yeah, with that, I think we are at the end of our show. I see the viewers dropping off now. Everybody's heading to bed. So again, appreciate all of you guys. We'll be back here next Sunday where our guest will be Mr. Mike Bainbridge over from the CFF site and Fantasy Points CFF podcast. We are going to do a Tadpole Bowl style draft as part of that show. So be sure to absolutely tune in. Also be on the lookout for any content we have related to the live Atlanta draft that I will be doing next Saturday. Froton will be there. Chris K will be there. A lot of great guys will be there. So I'm looking forward to that. But I appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Until then, y'all have a wonderful and blessed week.